Hi, welcome back for another preview video. This time I'm going to present to you a game from Placindia Games and Postscriptum called Tameri. Tameri, by the way, I didn't know that, and I really like it when I learn new things from board games. Tameri is the ancient Egypt, the word for the ancient Egypt, land of homeland of prosperous land. I refer to, the ancient word for Egypt is called Tameri, and it's something really interesting because this game is all about Egypt, about the River Nile and the agriculture around it. Players are going to be playing a farming game where they're going to be using various mechanisms like worker placement in a very fresh and intuitive way, tableau building, set collection, open and closed drafting, and various other mechanics so that they can get more victory points and win the game. The theme is really interesting, and the game mechanics thematically fit the game in an excellent way, because the core thing and the concept that evolves around the game and powers the whole game is the weather cycles. There are 3 seasons in the game, because you had 3 seasons. You had the fertile season, you had the dry season, and you had the season with the floods. And this dictates how the 12 rounds, 4 in each season, go in the game, because you drop spheres, weather spheres, marbles, in the Great Pyramid, and this splits them in 4 slides, and these slides emulate the weather cycles, and they affect the fields. So they're going to differentiate it, which sites are going to be productive, which fields are going to be productive, and also how much production each field is going to get based on what each type of resource, we have 4 resources and 8 fields, requires in the game in order to be produced abundantly. So the game really has a very clever way of manipulating these weather cycles, maybe timing your actions correctly, and getting the best out of the land. This is a farming game, by the way, but also it has very interesting card play, where you have in each of the rounds you play one of the action cards you have, which you draft, by the way, and depending on clever card play, you can either do 1 or 2 actions from the card. You have 8 actions to select from. There's a lot of things to go for. You can go for the temples and the temple tracks by playing priest cards. You can go in building different buildings and gaining abilities and actions. You can build the Sphinx and gain a lot of boost and a lot of different things to gain from the Sphinx. You can also gain increase your your farm production, your harvesting, by placing more farmers, or you can harvest to gain more materials and use them in order to do different things. Everything blends so nicely together and delivers a fantastic, I should say medium weight farming game with a lot of clever ideas. And since there are a lot out there, both Eurogames, mid-weight Eurogames, and farming games, which I love, by the way, the genre, I think this game delivers a very thematic take on the farming game, one of the most thematic I've seen, because it puts the weather cycles in a great way into the mechanics of the game and combines it with a fantastic action card play. But I'm giving my opinion right ahead from the top, from the start of this video. I just want to get you into the feeling of the game and how the game flows. The game is all about tableau building, engine building, resource management, getting the correct action cards, having the ability to manipulate both the climate, the weather, by introducing different spheres from the weather effects, or by paying Deben in order to do nice tricky things so that you can boost your productivity. The game plays and flows excellently. It has clever ideas. It works very nicely. I want to emphasize on this point on the table presence. This 3D pyramid, it's fantastic. The slides are fantastic. We've seen a lot of games with gimmicks, eye candy things that catch your eye, but they're not offering a lot in the gameplay. This is a vital part of the game design, and I think it's very excellently executed, because it delivers a fast, great flow in the game mechanics and powers the beginning of the season and the round. Very well done. It has a fantastic, beautiful presence, table presence on the table. It has a great art. It has all the nice visual things that you want to have in a modern game nowadays. This game is going to be on GameFound. I'm going to add the link in the description below so that you can follow and find out more about the game. It's launching anytime soon. The company, I have to say, it's a fantastic company. Both companies, because they always are both on the games. I don't know how this works, but there are always these 2 companies publishing the games, and all the previous games I've played from them They're very well thought, very well designed, very well balanced, and give a nice, crunchy game all the time. In this design, I'm more excited because it's a farming game, and I love farming games. Even more excited, I should say. And they also have blended excellently the table presence, the gimmick, eye candy, that thing that you always want to have, with great strategic play, a lot of management, and a lot of thematic gameplay. Very, very well done. I'm very excited, and I highly, highly recommend this one already. I'm telling it from the beginning of this video. So I'm going to add the links in the description for quick navigation, so that you can go directly to setup, components, or actions, explanation, etc. Or you can jump directly at the end of this video, where I'm going to wrap up my final opinion and first impressions from the sessions I had from the game so far. Keep in mind that this is a prototype, so everything you see in front of you, it's not the final by no means, but it's already a great looking prototype. I have done a separate prototype unboxing where I focus more on highlighting the components and how they look like. So hope you enjoy this video. Come with me and let's find out how to play the game. Ancient Egypt was an advanced and complex civilization, capable of leaving amazing traces both in the contemporary world and in the future, up to the present day, almost 5,000 years later. At the same time, however, it was also a civilization strongly influenced by the annual cycle of the Nile, which was the basis of Egyptian agriculture. For this reason, the year was divided into 3 seasons: Akhet, the season of the river's flood; Peret, the season's emergence of the fertile land and reaching silt; and Shemu, the arid season. A game of Tameri takes place over an entire Nile cycle. The aim of the game is to obtain the highest possible score by managing your workers as best as possible, trading, building, paying homage to the gods and the pharaoh, building sphinx, and above all, taking advantage of the gifts that the Nile and the fields will offer you. Welcome to this how to play review video for Tameri, a brand new game from Prasidia Games and Postscriptum. This is a medium weight Euro game of farming, worker placement, and a great, I should say, way of developing, gaining unique abilities and gaining points from various actions throughout the course of the game. I'm very excited to share my how to play video, so I'm going to guide you through the rules of the game. I'm going to add a link in the description of the video so you can follow up for the crowdfunding campaign, which is hitting GameFound anytime soon, and then I'm going to come back also at the end of this video with my opinion. So let's dive into the game itself and the rules. First of all, let's familiarize ourselves with the components of the game. First of all, we have one main game board, as you see here in front of you. I've set the game for 4 players already, but the game board is put together from various pieces that you click together like a puzzle and feel and form this nice large board, which has fantastic illustration, by the way. There is, as I remind you, an unboxing of the prototype where I take more time to discuss and present the components of this prototype. It's still a prototype, so many things may change. For example, the pyramid here is going to be decorated, so it's not going to be just blank, and you're going to have also more art there, but the game already looks gorgeous. So let's see the components. We have the main game board showing the different areas. We have the fields. The fields are located around the pyramid. We have 8 fields in total, so 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. around the pyramid. We have the weather, which is over here, which affects the cycle. We have the buildings, which are over here. We have also the Nile temples, the Sphinx. The Sphinx area is over here. The temples, we have 3 temples with 3 tracks over here. And we have the market, which is over there. And you can see overall how the game is set up on functional, the game board is divided with functional areas. So then we have 4 Sphinx tiles. I'm just going to show you one of them. These are placed on these 10 spaces. There are 10 in total. They are double-sided. For example, this is 6B, and from the opposite side you have 6A. So when setting up, we're going to go through the setup in detail, but when setting up you need to mix them and make sure that 5 of them are from the A side and another 5 from the B side. We have 7 weather tiles. These are the weather tiles that, together with the season, they affect the number of weather spheres or marbles or whatever. These are the weather spheres that are going to be dropped into the main contraption, which is the pyramid, and slide along the 4 slides of the central piece. We have one plastic structure with slides, which is beneath here. I have already put on top the pyramid. You can see more on that on the unboxing of the prototype. We have the plastic funnel that goes here to facilitate dropping the spheres easier. I believe there's going to be a deluxe obelisk piece that you can get, but you'll have to find out more from the crowdfunding campaign page. There is a season counter, which is over there, a marker. You have 106 action cards divided into 5 decks. We have deck A, which is used during setup, and we're going to go through that later. You have deck B, which starts for the first season, deck C for the second season, and deck E for the third season. We also have deck E, which is over here, and it's again action cards, but it's specifically for the temple. Then we have 35 building cards. You can see them here. There is a pack already there, and have already placed face up 5 of them, with great art, by the way. Again, I refer to the unboxing of the prototype. We have 48 priest cards. This is a deck of the priest cards. They offer either victory points at the end, hidden victory points, or you can gain, reveal them and gain the bonus in the course of the game, forfeiting the victory points at the end. In addition, we have the 12 wooden stones, 96 wooden resources, 24 per type. We have barley, papyrus, flax, and fruit that you see here. We have 20 yellow weather spheres. These are the sun spheres. We have, in addition, the blue spheres, which are the water spheres. 20 in total, and 24 weather sealed spheres, which are the orange ones. Also, we have 18 Deben, which can be used to manipulate things in the course of the game and do additional weather actions. Now, there are 4 sets of player pieces in 4 colors. Each of the color consists of the player board that you have here. I've already set 2 player boards for visual purposes, but this is a 4-player setup. You get also 3 Sphinx that are going to be constructed in the Sphinx area from the players and give abilities through the course of the game and things to gain. You have 8 workers. You start with 4 workers and 4 more locked that you need to unlock on your player board in the player's colors. These are really nice, by the way, as you can see. Also, you have 1 wooden turn counter for the turn order over here, and last you have 1 wooden score marker on the top of the board, which for the score track, which goes around the table. So there you have it. These are the components of the game. So, game setup. There is a series of steps that we take through the course of the setup, but it's relatively easy. First, you need to place the game board at the center of the table, obviously, and then you need to place the plastic structure with the slides and the Great Pyramid over it. You see the plastic structure. Maybe I can slightly remove it to show you how it looks like. Then you place the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, and then you place the funnel. Again, everything looks white, but keep in mind that at least from the pictures I have on GameFound preview page, this is colored. Maybe it's unlocked, maybe stretch goal, you have to find out, and there's going to be an option instead of funnel having an obelisk as well, which it would look really, really great also. So in any case, you set up the structure as you see in front of you, and then you place 2 sun spheres. Keep in mind that the yellow ones are the sun spheres, and this is the sealed, okay, which is, I think, even today 40 or 60% consist component of the mud used in construction nowadays. So we place two spheres of sun, two sun spheres on each slide, to here, to here, to there, and to there. Plus we add two spheres of silt at the end of each slide, meaning outside of the slide on the first and second spot on the board. Okay, so off the slide, first and second spot, all the way for all the 4 slides around the Great Pyramid. Once we've done that, we place the season counter on season space 1. Let me show you. This is over there at the top center of the main board, so we place it here. You see it has 3 seasons, 1 season, season 2 and season 3. Okay, so we place it on the first one, and then we shuffle the 7 weather tiles and place them on a face down pile. These are the weather tiles. We place them on the face down pile on the spot here. We're going to reveal from there during the course of the game. Once we've done that, we shuffle the deck with the buildings and we place it on the appropriate spot on the top right side of the main board, and from there we reveal the first 5 buildings that we place face up on the corresponding slots. Then the remaining deck, as I mentioned, is going to be here at the top. Once we've done that, we move here on the left side of the main board, where is the Sphinx area. We randomly place the 10 Sphinx tiles in appropriate spaces so that 5 of them show the light side A and 5 of them the dark side B. In any case, you'll see that this is the tile 10B, or as I've shown you before, 10A. Okay, just make sure that 5 of them, 5 of the 10, showing the B side, and the rest are showing the A side. Then we divide the action cards according to the season they refer to, and we compose a deck per each season and shuffle it. Again, you see that all the action cards have the same back, but you can see that they have on the bottom right side the deck to which they belong to. We start by first of all placing the B deck related to season 1, the Akhet, in the appropriate space on the main board, which is here. So these, as you can see, are B cards. Okay, and from there we're going to reveal a number of cards depending on the number of players plus 2. So in a 4-player we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards revealed on the respective slots. As you can see, we have there already placed the cards from the setup from the B deck. Keep in mind that we are going to use the A deck. I started with the B deck. We're going to use the A deck for round 0, which is a preliminary round that we do just right after setup and just before starting the normal rounds of the game. So deck cards C is going to be used for the second season, and deck card D is going to be used for the third. As I mentioned, deck A is going to be used for round 0 during setup, and the last deck, which is deck E, is placed on the top left side of the main board just above the temple tracks. Now, each player chooses a color and takes all the corresponding material belonging to the color of choice. So you have the player board, which is this one. You have 8 workers. 4 of them are placed locked on the 4 spots here. You need to unlock them, and the remaining 4 are available for you to start the game. You have 3 Sphinx that they go on the 3 slots on the top right side of your main board over here, and they're linked with the Sphinx action, obviously. Okay, and then you take 2 resources for each type, 2 of each of the 4 types, as you see here, plus 1 Deben, which you keep close to you. This is your starting resources. You need to place 1 score marker on the space 5 of the score track, so we start with 5 victory points, and then you'll need the second turn order marker, which you're going to keep near your player board for the moment, but is going to be determine the turn order during the round 0 of the game. Playing the game. The game is played over 12 rounds divided into 3 seasons, so each season has 4 rounds. Keep in mind that once setup is complete, the round 0 takes place. The players receive action cards from action deck A, choose which ones to keep using a draft mechanic that's going to be described later, and then proceed with the rest. So round 0 is played only once between setup and the first round of play. First we shuffle the A deck of cards, which are the ones which have A, as you can see here. Okay, we shuffle them thoroughly, and then we give 5 cards face down to each of the players. Once we've done that, each player evaluates their initial 5 cards. They select which ones they want to keep based on the actions that each card shows and the glyphs that they are on the left and right side of the card, possibly. So let's say I want to do this one. You'll understand the actions later, and I place it here on the first slot on my player board. Then face down I pass the remaining cards. I receive 4 cards. Again, I evaluate which ones I want to keep. I select one, face down here. Then I pass the remaining 3. I receive 3 from the player on the right. I select one, I place it here, pass them, and from the last ones received, I need to select one, which is going to be face down, but the one I'm not selecting, it's going to be revealed simultaneously once everyone has selected 4 cards for their starting hand. They're going to reveal them. This card is going to be discarded, but it matters only for the number on the top. So the player with the lowest number on the top out of the 4 ones revealed from the 4 players, by discarding the last card, the one with the lowest number is going to be first on the turn order, which is on the bottom right side of the board. Let me show you. So let's say the yellow had the lowest number. That means they're going to go on the top of the turn order, followed respectively by the rest of the players according to their number. Now, following the order of the turn counters from top to bottom, each player places a farmer in a field on the board around the main area. You'll understand more on the fields and what they produce, but for the moment I'm just going to be place one from each player there. And then the last step, so starting with the yellow player, they place in one of the fields around the Great Pyramid one of their workers. The spaces for the fields for you to identify them, they look like that. And some spots are not accessible depending of the player count, but here we're playing 4-player count, so any of those are available. And again, a field is there are 8 fields. Okay, so we have 2 papyrus fields, one here and one here. We have 2 flax fields, one here and one here, and so goes around the Great Pyramid. Now once this initial farmer has been placed from all players, then what happens is we reveal our action cards. Actually, we take them in the hand, we don't reveal them, we pick them up. So I come back to my player board, I pick those cards up because these were my selections out of the drafting process, and I'm going to be using them through the course of the game. So reveal, I pick up my 4 cards, which is going to be used for my first round of play. It's going to be used as a card, as my hand available, card hands available for the first round of the game. And then I proceed by revealing a number of action cards from deck B, which I have already done it, as I mentioned, on this area. Okay, so based on the number of players plus 2 revealed on the bottom side of the board. So at the end of the round 0, all players must have a hand of 4 action cards and 1 farmer on the main board. And keep in mind that during the round 0 you can always look at the cards you have already placed on your player board, because you need to make choices about which cards you keep during drafting. So that's all you need to know about the round 0, and we're ready to begin the game. Further rounds. The further rounds are divided in the following phases, which must be played in order. First we have the phase 1, which is the weather, phase 2, which is choosing the actions, phase 3, which is determination of the turn order, phase 4, individual turns, and phase 5, end of round or end of the season. Now let's focus on each of the phases respectively and see how they work. Phase 1, weather. The weather phase is essential to establish which fields are productive and which ones not at the start of the round. More on that later, but for the moment what happens is this phase is random and hardly predictable, but always remember that you will be able to influence this aspect in various ways on your turn. The weather phase consists of the following steps. First, we reveal the weather tile on top of the stack and take the weather spheres indicated on that tile. So if you focus here, I take the one from the top of the stack, I reveal it. That means that from the supply outside I need to take 2 water spheres and 1 sun sphere. Okay, so these are the corresponding spheres. In this pool of spheres from the tile revealed, I need to pick up these pools indicated here next to the season marker. This is very thematic also because you see the first season has a lot of water. That means that I'm going to add to the ones revealed from the tile, I'm going to add 3 water spheres as indicated in the first season. So these are going to be added, and that means that a lot of water is going to come out, which is thematic linked with the season and the floods in the river. Now insert all the weather spheres mentioned above into the Great Pyramid, and to do this you can either take the funnel, or if you have it you can use the hollow obelisk, which is present in the upgrade pack. The spheres will drop from the slides randomly, and if there are not enough spheres in the supply we just insert the ones available. So again, this is my original pool from a combination of the season, 3 blue, plus the weather tile, 2 blue and 1 sun. So I'm dropping them. And as you can see, they slide in the different slides of the main pyramid. All the spheres removed from the slides just must be returned to the general supply, keep in mind, okay? And how removing spheres happens, what is the situation? So after we inserted all the weather spheres, if there are 5 spheres of the same color on a slide, which is not at the moment, but let's assume we had, okay, I'm adding 3 sun spheres here, show you. Let's assume we had 5 spheres of the same color or the same weather. Then we need to remove the lowest one so that others can go down. Okay, it needs to be of the same color. So in this case I would remove the lowest one, and possibly other ones would drop down. Once we do that, the sphere that we removed, it goes to the supply, and then the next thing that we need to do is we need to remove any sealed spheres that they may have been dropped. So again, I'm removing the 3 because this was an example, okay? But let's say I had some sealed spheres. This needs to be removed, the orange ones, okay, and placed below on the corresponding spot outside of the slide. Let me show you. So if you have any sealed spheres rolling out of the Great Pyramid, then they're going to be removed and placed from the first to the second all the way to the 4th, up to 4 sealed spheres we can have outside of the corresponding slide. Then the next step is crucial. We need to remove all sun spheres and water spheres that are touching each other. If removing a sun and water sphere causes one or more sealed spheres to drop and they are not previously visible, then if they are dropped in the slide, they're going to be placed like before outside of the slide. But for the moment, let's see, we have a water and a sun sphere touching each other, so they cancel themselves, and the same goes here. Okay, so this will go out into the main supply of spheres. Here there is none. Here we have one sun sphere touching one water sphere, so the two of them are removed. And from this side there are two touching, and then two more touching. That means that we end up, as you can see, with the remaining setup in the game. Now this may change along the way based on the rounds that we're in, but this is a crucial part of the weather phase. We remove all sun spheres and water spheres that are touching each other, and we continue doing that so that the rest are left. Something really important, keep in mind that what spheres, if we have specific spheres or not, and if we have no spheres at all, will determine if the field is productive. More on that later, but this is a very, very crucial point to know that, for example, this field has no spheres, so it's going to be productive. Okay, and the level of how much productive it is depends on the silt that it's below. More on that later. But for example, here you see that there are no blue spheres, so this field here is not going to be productive. More on that later, pausing because we need to explain the rest of the phases, and we're going to come back later on. Phase 2, choosing the actions. At the same time, all players must choose which card to play this round among those in their hand and place it face down on their board, in the leftmost free space of their player board. To make this choice, we need to keep some aspects of the game mechanics in mind, but you're going to pick up one card and place it simultaneously with the others, once everybody is ready, on the leftmost available space here on your player board. Now, how we do the choice of what cards we activate? The order of play is determined by the number shown in each card played in this phase. Now, the lower the number, the sooner you play. But keep in mind that each card has a different number on top of it, and the higher the number, the stronger the card it is. Each action card shows two actions, two icons for actions, and one in the upper half and one in the lower half. And if the card you just played completes a glyph with previously from the left side, you have the right to perform both actions in order from top to bottom. Otherwise, you can only perform one of the two actions of your choice. During the next phase, you can decide not to reveal a card and take the action of your choice, and therefore play before others, but this will cost you one or more Deben. Once we have decided, we proceed to the next phase. So let's see how this works. You see that each card has potentially glyphs on the right side. Now they are on the right, but this one has on the left side, for example. By playing the cards, you may have the possibility, so if I played it like that, there is no match of glyphs from the previously, even the pre-printed one on the board. That means I need to do either this action or that action. But as you will progress and possibly gain also better action cards, you will have other possibilities to create glyphs. Once you create glyphs that they match, you will be like, if I play this one here, if it was my third card that I played, I would be able to play both actions. So with my second card, again, either top or bottom, whichever I want. With my third card, I would be able to play both of them because the glyph matched. Okay, so that's really, really useful when you are deciding which cards to play. So glyphs, actions, and unrevealed cards. As I said, I may decide to play a card when I'm playing cards. Okay, let's say I played this one like that, and then let's say the next one I decide to play it face down. So instead of playing it face up, because I don't want to use it face up, I decide not to reveal it, to keep it like that. When I place it face down, then that means that I can take an action of my choice, any of the actions available, and play it before the others. But this will cost one or more Deben. We'll see how this works. Okay, and then when I subsequently play another card in face up, then the back of the card still has glyphs, so I have the possibility to match it, and then I will obviously play both actions following that. So each action card has at least one glyph on the at least one side, and the glyphs on one side can match those on the opposite side of the previous or next card, or with those printed on the player board, either left or right here. If at least one of the glyphs of the left side of a card matches a glyph on the previous card or on the player board, you can perform both actions shown on the card in order from top to bottom. So first this one, and then that one if you match the glyph. If none of the glyphs on the left side match another, you must choose only one of the two actions to play. If on the right side of the fourth and last card you played in a season there is a glyph, like for example, let's say I have played the last and fourth card in a season, would be the fourth one here, so let's say I played this one. If the glyph fits the pre-printed right glyph on the game board, then I will gain 2 victory points as shown on the player board at the end of the season phase. This glyph on the right only allows you to obtain 2 points, does not allow you to perform both actions, okay? This is irrelevant. It is possible, if you want, not to reveal a card, so you place it face down, by paying a number of Debens equal to the number of unrevealed cards on your board in this season, including the one you just played. So let's say I have not revealed the second one, and this is the I have not revealed this one when I played secondly, and when I played the my fourth card here, again I want not to reveal. So I count how many non-revealed cards, including the one I just don't want to reveal now. So 1 and 1, 2. That means I need to pay 2 Deben. But if this was already revealed, and this was, let's say, my first one that I'm playing that I don't want to reveal, then I only pay 1 Deben. And this is reminded by the red Deben at the back of all the action cards. So this is useful because if you don't reveal the card, you will be able to select any of the actions you want, not being restricted by the cards you have in your hand, of course. And that gives you access to any of the 8 actions available in the game. Any of those you can do when you play a face down card. Phase 3, determination of the turn order. I remind you that at the previous phase we just decide together which card we want to play. Okay, but the phase 3, at the same time all players must decide whether or not to reveal the chosen card or not. So when you're playing during this step, it's recommended that someone counts to 3 to decide simultaneously if you want to reveal it or not. So 1, 2, 3, and then you just place it face down or place it face up. Okay, the order of the play is determined by the number shown on each card, as I mentioned before, which corresponds to the number that is going to dictate who starts first. So the lower number, the higher you place your turn order marker. Okay, so whoever played the lowest number plays first, and so on. Unrevealed cards still have a value of 1. That's why you see that if you have an unrevealed card, it has a different number from the back if it is unrevealed than it has from the face up side. So unrevealed cards have a value of 1. If only one player decided not to reveal the card, they will automatically play first. If more than one player decide not to reveal a card, so let's say 2 players have played the unrevealed card, then we're comparing the number from the back and then returning it face down for their choice. We place the turn counter, the 4 turn counters in order of decided based on the number played and on the card decided from the players, and that determines the turn order, which is on the right side of the board over here, as we have seen before. So there you have it. This determines the turn order for the round. Phase 4, individual turns. This is the juice of the game. Following the turn order established in Phase 3, each player takes their entire individual turn before it's the next player's turn, and it has a specific order. First, we see weather effects shown on the card that the player has decided to play, if any. For example, this card has no weather effects, but if you played this card, you would have weather effects, which you may decide to play. Then you have actions and other effects on the card itself that you have to execute the actions based on the previous steps that we described. Then you select a new card from the ones at the bottom offered, and then you make your warehouse restoration, which is maintenance and upkeep, essentially, for what you can keep. On your turn, you can perform the actions and weather effects shown on the card you played in Phase 2, but you need to follow the specific rules. So let's see. First of all, the weather effects shown on the card. If the card features one or more weather effects, you must immediately decide whether to apply it or not. Okay, so you may have more than one effect, so it's up to the player to decide if they're applying the weather effect and which ones they apply. They're always described at the bottom, so for example at the top of the card. So this card has two weather effects, okay, which are described here. You decide if you want to apply them or not. What these effects mean: they can either be remove a shield from somewhere, so you remove it and you get it, throw it out of the board. It could be remove either this is a remove a sun, not a shield. You remove a sun from the pyramid and then you return it to the board. It could be remove a water, or it could be remove any one of your choice between sun and water. It's up to the player to decide whether they want to do these effects or not. Keep in mind that some weather cards, instead of removing weather spheres, they may also, or in addition to, they may also give you the opportunity to gain silt. Okay, so that stands for this, which is the same, or this color. Okay, you gain them from the supply and you place them on your player board. Here you can store up to 4 of them in total, but no more. And you can use them moving forward. So whenever you have the weather effects, you either remove spheres based on what the card shows, or gain silt from the supply and you place it on your player board. But in all cases, the weather effects must be applied before proceeding to the main actions there that you have. So after performing the weather effects shown on the card, if not, depending on your choice, you proceed to actions and other effects on the card. In this step you can at any time and in any order perform the action or actions shown on the card you played. Based on the glyphs you may be able to play both actions. Apply any number of extra weather effects. The extra weather effects means that you can use the opportunity to pay Deben. Let me show you here. To either remove a sun or water sphere, or 2 Deben to gain a silt. Okay, so you can do the actions. You can do any number of extra weather effects. You can reveal any number of priest cards you have previously acquired. More on that later from the temples, but you have them next to your board for potentially scoring victory points at the end. But some of them can tell you that you have either 1 victory point at the end or this effect, and if you reveal it at this stage, you forfeit the victory point because you lose it, but you will be able to use what the card indicates as an alternative. And then the last thing that you can do is you can apply any permanent effects from your building cards which you may have built, and you have them next to your player area, and they give you abilities. So weather, then additional weather effects, any number of priest cards you can reveal, and any passive abilities from your buildings, if any. But the main actions are around the icons that you enable, either 1 or 2, from the card that you have played for this round. More on the actions later, we will explain the different actions later, but for the moment let's proceed to the next phase, which is selecting a new card. After you have finished with your action and other effects, you proceed to phase 3, which is selecting a new card. After exhausting all the effects described before, you draw one card from the ones available here in the main area, in the row with the new cards. If there is a resource on the card that you selected, like for example this one, you pick it up. And during setup, I failed to mention that from the ones revealed, we place two resources, 1 and 1, on the two lowest numbers from the cards that they are there. But let's say I decide to pick up this one because it will give me one fruit, and I will pick up this card in my hand. Very important at this step, I do not replenish the spot I just emptied. The players who play first therefore have a greater possibility of choice than the subsequent ones. Okay, and this is going to be done later. But I will finish this step by picking up one card and potentially a resource if it has any on it. Phase 4 then is a warehouse restoration. At the end of the turn you can have no more than 4 resources of a type. So that means 4 fruit, 4 flax, 4 barley, or 4 papyrus, and 4 debens, and also 4 sealed spheres. You only check this during this step. If you exceed this limit during another player's turn, because you receive a resource from the market, for example, you can keep more than 4 until the phase 4 of your next turn. So now let's move to the possible actions. We have 8 possible actions, and let's explain how these actions work. Possible actions. There are 8 possible actions. 4 of them require that you place your worker on a spot on the game board in order to perform those, while other 4 do not require that you place a worker. When you need to place one of your workers, you can choose whether to use one of those not yet used, placed next to your board, or move one already employed elsewhere, with the exceptions of those employed at the temple. On the top here, the 3 temple tracks, which you cannot move out of the tracks once there. All actions are optional. So let's focus on the 8 different actions and explain how they work. The farmer action. The farmer action asks players to place, or enables players to place one of their workers in a free space on one of the 8 fields on the main board. I remind you that each corner, I should say, of the pyramid has 2 fields. One field here and one field there, linked with the symbols and the slide next to it. So when you play a farmer action, you can place one of your workers in any of the free space on one of the 8 fields on the main board. Then you can rearrange all of the farmers you have in play, always placing them on free spaces. Nothing else happens, but each farmer will be able to produce one or more resources in the future if the field that they are producing is productive. We'll see how harvest action enables you to do that. But for the moment, by playing field farmer actions, you are able to place one of your workers in one free spot on that field. Important, you cannot have more than 1 farmer on a field. However, you can have 2 farmers producing the same type of resource on 2 different fields. That means that I can have a farmer here and a farmer here, but I cannot have a farmer here and here on the same field. That's not allowed. In this setup, the yellow player has 2 farmers producing the same type of resource, in this case papyrus, but on opposite fields. One is producing papyrus from this field and one is producing papyrus from that field if they do the harvest, but potentially producing. Okay, so keep that in mind with the farmer action when placing farmers. And also you can rearrange any farmers you have on the board to place them on different vacant spaces as you see fit. Next action is the merchant on top here. This is linked with this icon and this area on the bottom left side of the board. If there is none of your workers in the merchant in the market area, this is the market area over here, you place one of your workers in a free space between two stalls. You see that the stalls are here, 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 and there are spaces between the stalls. Spaces between the stalls to place your worker. If there is already one of your workers in the market, you can decide whether to leave it where it is or move it to another free space. In any case, to proceed to the next steps, you must have one and only one merchant on the board. Then you will choose one of the following two effects. So let's say I have one merchant here in this spot. I will choose one of the following two effects. Either trade, which has 3 parts, or hoard, which has 2 parts. Let's see first how trading is done. The trade effect consists of 3 parts. First, you place a resource from your supply, your personal supply, on the central area, on the central space in the market. That means here. I place it here. You can place any resource you want there. Then you activate the 2 stalls around the space where your merchant is, taking one resource of each type indicated by each stall from the reserve. So my merchant is sitting next to this stall and next to that stall. That means that from the supply I'm going to gain 1 fruit for this one and 1 barley for this one. Okay, so I take those and I add them to my personal supply. Each other player whose merchant is next to an activated stall takes the corresponding resource from the general supply. In this case, let's say that before I placed and performed the trade effect, again as I explained, let's say I have the red player sitting here and let's say I have the blue player sitting here. Okay, so once I activate the trade effect, I will gain 1 fruit, I will place 1 resource here, I will gain 1 fruit and 1 barley, okay? And the players who are next to an activated stall, that means the player sitting here and the player sitting here, so let's say, sorry, this was here and this was here. That means that in this case, I will take everything I took before, but the red player is going to gain 1 fruit also, and the blue player is going to gain 1 barley also. You must place a resource in the center of the market even if one of the 2 stalls you are activating produces the same type of resource. Let's say I was planning to place 1 barley here and then I will get 1 barley from the supply and 1 fruit. That's also doable. But I need to place it, to place it before activating the trade effect. If I don't decide to do trade with a merchant action, I can decide to do hoarding. So the hoarding effect consists of 2 parts. First, I take all the resources that they are collected in the center. Typically you will do hoarding when you have several resources that you want to pick up from there. All of them are going to be picked up from you, and then all other players who have a merchant in play will take any 1 resource of the choice. So the blue player is going to decide 1 resource to pick up from the supply, and the red player is going to decide to pick up 1 resource from the supply respectively. Even if the hoarding effect does not directly activate any stalls, you must still have a merchant in play. If you don't have one, you must place 1 in the market space, and if you have it, you can decide whether to leave it there or move it to another location. Meaning, after that, you can decide to place yourself better for another round where you're going to use your merchant, because you will be wanting then to pick up papyrus and flax, let's say, for example. Okay, so this is how the hoarding effect works. So again, with the merchant icon, either trade or hoard, up to what the player wants to do. Next action is the builder action, which is this icon here, and you can also find it there on the top of this row. This is the card of the deck of buildings, and this is the offer of buildings. Now, if there isn't any of your workers in the construction area, this is the construction area here next to the buildings, you can place 1 in the starting space. The starting space is the one at the bottom, so this is a starting space. So if you don't have one of your workers there in the construction area, you can place 1 in the starting space. And if you already have 1 from before, then you can advance it to the next space. So if I already had it here, I would be able, by playing a builder, to advance it to the next step. Okay, and the next step. Each time I play builder. Keep in mind that you cannot have more than one builder in play in the construction area. If you decide to remove the builder to place it elsewhere, and then decide to put it back to have a subsequent turn, it will need to start again from the starting space at the bottom. Even if it goes there and you decide to remove it and place it somewhere else, if you again decide to go to the construction, you need to place it at the bottom. After that, you can purchase one of the building cards on the board as follows. If your builder has already reached the card that you want to take, you pay only the resources indicated on the top left corner. So let's say I'm here, I have reached here and I want to take this building. I will pay one papyrus and one resource of my choice. If I was here and I wanted to take this card, I would pay one fruit and one resource of my choice. But let's say that your builder has not yet reached the card you want to pick up, the building you want to pick up. Then you will need to pay the resource indicated on the top left card like before, so barley and papyrus, fruit and any resource of your choice. But also, in addition, you need to pay one additional papyrus resource for each step the builder is missing. So let's say I want to pick up the third card and I'm still at the start. I will need to pay a papyrus and resource of my choice plus 2 papyrus in total. Cards may have instant effects and or permanent effects and or season ending points. They also award points at the end of the game based on the symbols representing their type. The effects will be explained in the rulebook and you can easily follow them up, but buildings are generally powerful cards that you want to have in your possession, either for abilities in the game or in game scoring. Once you pick up a card that you want to build, then you move the rest of the cards one spot down and you reveal one more card from the deck to the top spot, so that there are always 5 cards in the offer for the buildings. Next action is the priest, which is here, this icon here with the priest. This action allows you to advance your priest into a temple following the rules that are applicable there. You can only advance one priest per action. You can never have more than one priest per temple. With each action, you can freely choose which temple to advance, either this one, that one, or that one. They have a respective icon, but the action of the priest is this one. And whenever you activate the priest, you can progress, advance one priest in any of the tracks you want to do so. You can advance a priest up to 4 steps per action, spending different resources for each step. After completing the progression, you immediately obtain all the effects reported on the spaces the priest has just passed, all of them accumulatively. The order of application of the effects is irrelevant. There can never be more than one priest on a temple space, so if your priest ends its movement exactly on an occupied space from another player, it pushes the opposing priest present there one space forward. This only cause further pushes. This can cause further pushes if you have priests in a row. So, for example, let's say we have this one here, that one here, and let's say we have one more here. If I decide, of course, people can have they can either enter the first space by playing this and start progressing, counting the first space, or move any priest they have already there in the tracks. Okay. So let's say for this example, if I play a priest action and I have 2 different resources to spend. Let's say I spend 1 fruit and 1 papyrus. I will move, and I'm the yellow player. I will move one, and then I will move a second, pushing both this one level up and this one level up. I will pick up all the bonuses for the steps I picked. So I was already here, so I will put this. I will take this bonus and that bonus. The iconography is explained later on. And the other players, they're also going to reveal, pick up the bonuses with the new position that they just reached. Okay. It's important that to know that when you're counting how many spaces you move, only only apply the push effect if you land on an occupied space. Meaning, if I'm starting like that and I decide to pay 2 resources, okay, I'm not going to push all of the priests. I'm just jumping over this one and I'm just landing on the blue one. So essentially, I'm only pushing the blue one and not the green one in this case. Okay. So only perform the push effect if you land on an occupied space, not if you're passing through. You cannot advance beyond the last square of a temple, the topmost one. If the topmost square are occupied by opposing players, you can only advance to the last free space. And differently from what happens in other games, a worker positioned on as a priest on one of the tracks of the temples cannot be removed further on from the temple and placed elsewhere, not even to place them in another temple respectively. Again, keep in mind that the effects are accumulative, so if I pay 4, I'm here and I'm out. I'm just placing a priest, I'm paying 4 resources for different ones. That's the maximum I can progress. I'm picking up 1 victory point from here, unlocking 1 worker from my locked ones on my player board, performing 1 farmer action, and gaining 1 priest card from the top there. Okay, so I will get all of the bonuses. Also, if I'm pushed, I'm going to get the bonuses of the new position I just reached. Next action is a harvest action with this icon, which you can find also at the end of each of the slides, respectively, from the Great Pyramid. Now, when you play the harvest action, each of your farmers who are on a productive field, we're going to come back and say what is a productive field, can produce from 1 to 3 corresponding resources based on the following rules. To determine if a field is productive, you follow what is linked with a productive field and harvest. Each farmer who is on a productive field grants you a number of resources based on the number of sealed spheres present next to it. If there are no sealed spheres, you don't obtain any resources from that field, and you can still add them if you want from the supply in order to be able to produce. After harvesting, you remove a sealed sphere from each slide corresponding to at least 1 field that was produced resources. The spheres to be removed is only 1, even if both fields corresponding to the slide have produced, and then you proceed. So let's say that I want to, this is a productive field, by the way, okay, here. For me to, when I play the harvest action, I can harvest all the fields that I have, all the productive fields that I have a worker on. So in this case, both this field and that field is, let's focus on those 2, are productive. So for this one, I can gain 2 resources, and the reason I'm gaining 2 resources, as you can see, is because there are 1, 2, 3 sealed spheres, so 2 resources indicated here. So I'm getting 2 papyrus from this one, and I'm removing this and putting it back in the supply. And from this field, I'm getting another 1 papyrus because it's next to this one, and I'm removing this sealed sphere and picking 1 more. So in total, I got 3, 2 plus 1, 3 papyrus. Keep in mind that if I also had, let's say, if I was also focusing on this one, this is also a productive field from the other side. When I remove this one to pick up 2 papyrus, I would also pick up 1 flax without removing an additional slit from here, okay, because I also have productive field there and there linked with this. Actually, this is also productive. So let's focus on what is a productive field and how do you do harvest. So on Tameri's board, there are 8 fields as you've seen, and 2 on each of the 4 resources. So 2 fields here for papyrus, 2 fields here for barley, 2 fields here for flax, etc. Okay, you can identify the icon printed on each field respectively. Each field refers to one of the slides of the Great Pyramid, and each slide affects the 2 fields on its sides. The blue or yellow spheres present on the slides themselves, on the white part of the slide, represent the excess of water or sand that are at the moment on the 2 fields of the sides of the slide. Each field is always productive if there are no spheres on the slide that it refers to, or if it has the specific ones indicated as indicated by next to the slide on the field. So this field has no spheres. That means it's productive. Both this field is productive because it has no fields and no spheres, and this field is productive because it has no spheres. In addition, a field can be productive if it has a specific limit of sun or water spheres that it can support it. Okay, that means for Papyrus, which is here, you see it has 3 water spheres or 3 water spheres. That means the field is productive if there is 1 to 3 spheres of water. So this field and that field, this is productive because it's empty always, but this is productive because it can have 1, 2 or 3. Okay, so this would still be productive. This would still be productive, this would still be productive. How productive it is linked with the number here. But if it was like that, this field will not be productive because it doesn't have, it's not empty, or nor it has 1 to 3 spheres of water. Okay, really important to keep an eye on it. The flux, which is on this side, let's see here. The flux has, it's either productive when it's empty, or if it has either 1 sun or 1 water. Okay, then the field is always productive again if it is empty. Okay, the field is not productive if for flux if it has 2 to 4 spheres regardless of type. Okay, if you had even if you had 2 of those, this field will not be productive because it needs to have exactly 1 of either sun or water, or none, which is the general rule for all. By the way, the Papyrus fields, which we checked before, are not productive if they have 4 water spheres or 1 to 4 waters of sun. Okay, whatever is remaining. Then let's move to this side over here. This side is the side for the barley. The barley field is productive when it's empty, always. If it has 1 or 2 spheres, regardless of type. That's why you see 1 or 2 spheres, regardless of type. By the way, this cannot be a mixture of water and sun because they eliminate themselves. There needs to be either 2 water or 2 sun. Okay, and it is not productive when it has 3 or 4 spheres, regardless of type. And the last one is the fruit, which is behind, which is this field and that field, and it requires, as you can see, either 1, 2, 3 spheres of sun, which is productive, and it's not productive if there are 4 sun spheres or 1 to 4 spheres of water. Again, the quantity of the resources that you will collect from a productive field, and once you've done the check, is linked with the number of indicated next to the sealed spheres that you have. So you get 1 resource if you have either only 1 or 2 sealed spheres. You get 2 resources if you have 1, 2, 3, and you get 3 resources if you have 4 sealed spheres there. And remember that you need to remove at the end 1 sealed sphere after you produced in a productive field. So this is how harvest works. Next action is the Sphinx, and you can see the icon here over there, the orange one. This action consists of 3 parts. First, you pay 1 fruit, you return to the reserve. If you don't already have all of your Sphinx in play, you can place one of your Sphinx in a free space of your choice in the Sphinx alley. If all your Sphinx have already been placed, you just skip this step. You can activate all of your Sphinx in any order you like, and you take the effects, and the effects are described in the rulebook. They give you precious bonuses. Something important is that once placed, the Sphinx remains there until the end of the game and cannot be removed. So let's say I have already built a Sphinx from before, but let's say now I play the Sphinx action, I pay 1 fruit, and I place in one of the vacant locations one of my Sphinx, and then I can activate all Sphinx that I have, both this one and that one in this case. They have various bonuses, very important. These are explained all at the rulebook, and they boost you respectively in your course of action. Another action that you can play is this one, which is the Decorator. It has this icon over here, and it's also captured here in the Sphinx area. When you play the Decorator as an action, you activate the effect of any Sphinx space immediately and without paying the fruit resource, regardless of whether it has already been built by you or someone else or not. That gives you a variety of options. Okay, it's very, very powerful, and it gives you a lot of things to help you and boost you in your strategy. Next action is the offer. The offering to the Pharaoh. Actually, this is this one, this icon here. So when you decide to play this action, you put 1 to 4 different resources behind your screen. You immediately score a number of points equal to the amount of hidden resources plus 1 you placed. And the resources behind the screen represent a donation to the Pharaoh, so you will no longer be able to spend them. They're locked. You don't have them in your possession in any way until the end of the game, but they will be revealed at the end of each season, at the end of the season, not the game, sorry, and they will give you additional points to those who donate the most. We'll see how this happens at the end of the season. It's important that it's possible to donate 0 resource and get 1 point, which is still a viable option. So let's say I have already these behind my screen, just moving it for the purpose of showing you. So let's say I donate 1, 2, 3 this turn. Okay, I get 3, 1, 2, 3 plus 1, 4 victory points, and I add them behind my screen so that I can use them at the end of the season for offering to the Pharaoh and getting additional scoring. We talked about the weather effect shown on the cards, okay, where you have cards where you can remove weather spheres to suit your plans, okay, either water or sun, or gain silt, or do both, and it's optional. We have also the extra weather effects that I mentioned that we have as a reminder on the right side of our board. We can pay 1 Deben to remove 1 water or sun sphere from a slider of our choice, spend 2 Deben to obtain a sealed sphere and place it on our board. Here we can have up to 4, or take 1 sealed sphere from our board and place it on the field of our choice. Okay, so these are all extra weather effects, and I can do as many as I want during my turn, as long as I have what is required. Phase 5, the end of the round or end of the season. After the last player has finished their turn, you proceed as follows. If there are 1, 2 or 3 action cards on the player board, the current season is not over yet. You move to the end of the round phase. If there are 4 action cards on the player's board, the season ends and we move to the end of season phase. So let's see how this works in each of the cases. First of all, end of the round. There are 2 action cards left in the offering area here, and you place on each of them a resource shown at the bottom of the card. If a card already has a resource from the previous rounds, you don't add anything, but let's say it didn't have any, so I would put 1 fruit here and 1 barley here in this case. Then I reveal as many cards from the deck of the current season as the number of players, in order to restore the number that we had also during setup. So I would, in this case, it's a 4-player game, so I will add 4 cards plus the 2 that they were left and enriched with the resource at the bottom. 4 plus 2, 6 for a 4-player game, but it's a number of players plus 2 that you need to have after you refill the offering at the end of the round, and then a new round begins starting from phase 1. Now, what happens when we have the end of the season? So the end of the season phase is composed by 6 steps to be followed in order. The first that happens is the player who has a priest in the topmost space on the left temple. Let's go there. In this case is the blue player. So the player who has a priest on highest level on the left track temple draws a number of priest cards from here, from this deck, equal to the number of priests present in all of the temples, plus 1. Sorry, not plus 1, just the number of priests present in all of the temples. Then he looks at them and keeps 1, and after that they pass the remaining cards to the player who follows on the same temple, who again keeps 1 and passes the other. Then all the priests on the left temple have received the card. This procedure continues with the priests on the central temple, and then on the one on the right, always evaluating the priests from top to bottom. Priests have different priest tracks give different bonuses, and they are explained in the rulebook. But for the case of this example, we see that we start from the left one, then from the middle one, and then you proceed to the right one, and we pick up a number of priest cards equal to the number of priests that they are in the temples, and then we pass them around as explained. So just for the sake of example, in this case, the blue player is going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 priest cards. He's going to check them, pick up the one he decides to keep for himself, and then give the remaining 6 to the red player. The red player is going to pick up 1 and give the remaining 5 again to himself to pick up a second one, and then give the remaining cards to the blue player, and so on in this order, so that each player gets a priest card for each of their priests they have from the total amount of priest cards collected, and by following the turn order from left to right and from top to bottom as explained just now. The second thing that happens is that each player whose last card placed on their board matches the glyph on the right, it's pre-printed on the right side of the board, gets 2 victory points as indicated on the player board. And then the third and last step, the third step out of the 6, is that each player receives points based on their building cards that they have built and they have next to them. We'll explain how this works later on. The fourth step is that each player reveals the resources that they had behind their screen saved as offerings for the pharaoh. Then they evaluate who offered the most resources of each type. The resources that must be evaluated type by type, so barley, papyrus, flax and fruit. The player who offered the most resources gets 2 points. In case of tie, all players who offered the highest number gain score 1 point each. All players who have scored points discard the resources of the type just evaluated. If the others revealed any resources of such type, they put them back behind their screens so they can evaluate them at the end of the following season or at the end of the game. The procedure is repeated a total of 4 times, once per resource, and each resource is evaluated and scored respectively as explained. The fifth step is that the cards remaining in the area of the player board are, as well as any current season's deck, must be discarded and removed from the game, and any resources on cards must also be discarded. So any resources discarded, the season's deck is going to be removed from the game. And then if the season has just ended, which was the first Ackhead or the second Parrot, we shuffle the 7 weather tiles. These are shuffled again and placed on the appropriate space, so they're ready for the next season. Then remove the bottommost building cards from the board and place it at the bottom of the building pile. Then move down 1 space all the building cards still on board and draw a new one from the deck, so that we have a bit of moving of the buildings. So this will go like that. And a new card is going to be drawn and placed here respectively. Last but not least, we take the deck of the following season, we shuffle it, we place it on the corresponding space and reveal a number of cards equal to the players plus 2, which will go and fill the spots for the action card offering respectively. And then we start a new round from phase 1. If the season just ended was the third Shomu, we proceed to the end of the game, which is the following. End of the game. The game ends at the end of the third season, the 12th round, and after all the steps indicated on the end of the season chapter, we proceed to the end of game operations, which is the following. First, each player reveals the remaining resources behind their screen. The player who offered the most overall resources gets 2 points. In case of a tie, all players who offered the highest number of resources score 1 point each. After these points have been assigned, everyone discards all the resources they had behind their screens. The second thing that happens is that we evaluate the sets of different symbols on the building cards in our possession. We're going to have different symbols in the buildings that we will build. Okay, so these symbols are going to create sets. So how we score this? Each set awards points as follows: 1 symbol 1 point, 2 different symbols 2 points, 3 different symbols 4 points, 4 different symbols 7 points, 5 different symbols 11 points, 6 different symbols 15 points, and finally 7 different symbols, all the symbols in the game, 20 victory points. The third step is that each player reveals their priest card in his possession and scores points indicated on them. So we'll have various priest cards. If we haven't played them through the course of the game, we will score the victory points indicated. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 victory points for this player. The fourth step is each player reveals their action cards still in their hand and counts how many glyphs he has on each type, both on the right and left, after which they score as many points as the number of glyphs is greater. You do not discard your hand of cards after revealing it, as it will need to be analyzed in the event of the tie. The fifth step is that each player scores 1 point for every 3 resources, Deben and sealed spheres in their possession. And the sixth and final step is that the player with the highest score wins the game. In case of a tie, the player with the highest action card in their hand is the winner. And this is how the end game scoring works. There is a variety of game effects that you have in the game. For example, many effects appear on a single building, sphinx or a temple space, and they're explained in the rulebook. Just to name a few to give you an idea, this symbol is for scoring 1 victory point, or 2 victory points in this case, or 3. This symbol is for gaining 1 sealed sphere. This symbol is for gaining 1 priest card. This means gain 1 farmer action, unlock one of your workers, gain 1 Deben, and so on. So everything is explained, and you can find out this easily on the rulebook. Just focusing on this icon, the unlock a worker, from the ones that you have locked on your player board. Let's go and see our player board. So 2 possibilities can occur. If there is still at least 1 locked worker on your player board, you choose one and immediately get the reward associated with it. In this case, if I got this one, I would get 1 Deben. If there are no more locked workers, because I have, let's say, unlocked everything and I get this unlock a worker effect, then I don't get an extra worker, but I obtain one of the 4 available effects of my choice. In any case, at the end of the turn, you cannot keep more than 4 sealed, Deben and resources of each type. And this is how you unlock your workers. There are permanent effects. This can be activated once per turn during the action and other effects. You can have others that are only be activated with a specific action performed. So just to give you an idea, for example, here if you have built this building, you can use fruit instead of papyrus, or papyrus instead of fruit, and vice versa. You can, whenever you perform the Sphinx action, you can gain 2 victory points, and there is all sorts of different, you can spend 2 Deben to do both actions on an action card you played, and so on. This perform lots of different, give you a lot of different boosts, and they power your strategy respectively. In addition, we have the priest cards, which we explained before, but let's focus now on the Sphinx. not to explain every ability because there are also a lot, as you can see. But keep in mind that the Sphinx tiles give you abilities. For example, this one you can spend Deben to perform a harvest action, or you spend a Deben to perform a Pharaoh offering, or here you gain a Deben and a victory point, and so on. And this can also give you a nice boost of useful things to get. So these are all the components. Everything is explained in the rulebook. The rulebook does a great job to explain all the different details, icons, cards, but I think everything becomes very familiar after a couple of turns, and very interesting in terms of engine building, of resource management, of making your farming and your harvesting work great for you, and have also the special abilities accordingly, but also foresee the weather cycles and what is more profitable at which time for you to have farmers and produce and harvest, etc. So there you have it. This is everything you need to know on Tameri. I'm going to come back now up for my final opinion, for my first impressions and sessions I had with the game so far. So there you have it. This is Tameri, and it's a game that I really loved. And it's easy to say that after you play the game that you like for the first time, because it's a hype of something new, the hype of excitement, of the new cool mechanic, of the new cool thing. But I think this game is here to stay. My only wish is that this game is discovered by many people, because I think everyone who plays the game or tries the game, and if they like this type of mid-Euro farming games, they're definitely going to love it. It has all the right tick boxes that I expect from a game. Great production, great design, great quality even in the prototype, fantastic art. But from gameplay mechanics and from gameplay point of view, it has a fundamental, robust and flawless execution of the weather cycle, which blends excellently with what you're doing in the game. It's a farming game, so it makes sense that weather affects your farming, right? We haven't seen it in other games, and not in those that we have seen it. It's in a very flat, or I should say quick way. This is a vital part of agriculture, weather. It affects your crops, your productivity, what produces more, what produces less, the timing of the farming, etc. And this is reflected in this game in a fantastic way. The Great Pyramid, okay, it's for a gimmick effect because it's a 3D structure, but it's in Egypt, so it has to be a pyramid. Has 4 slides, and in the 4 slides the marbles come out, but the marbles are also thematic, so based on the season you have a bit of more predetermined from the season what type of marbles go there, and then you pull a weather tile and you have additional marbles, and then you drop them all, and then these affect the different slides and the different 8 fields to around next to each of the slides of the gimmick, the Great Egypt, the Great Empire. So very well executed. Loved the way it works, and this is the first part I loved about the game, which I expect that I love it because I like clever ideas, I like visually appealing ideas, I like 3D, eye candy things. This fits excellently in the theme, in the mechanics and everything. I was predetermined from my DNA, my gaming DNA, to like this game, and I know many of you would feel the same by playing it or seeing the game. The thing that I loved also in the game is the card play. The action card play is fantastic because it has a drafting, which we have seen in a ton of different games, and it's great. But it's not a complex card. It has actually a bonus for the weather, maybe an extra resource that you can get but only once, and then it has the main aspect of the card. The action card are the 2 action icons, 2 out of the 8 possible actions that you can take in the game. 4 of them require a worker, 4 of them they don't require a worker. So you need to also manage your workforce respectively. But the actions, if you play a card, as you have seen, you just do one of the 2 actions. If you play it correctly by linking glyphs from the left card you already played, you will gain both actions on the action card to play, not just one. And you can always manipulate this with abilities. You can always play a card face down, so you only do one card, one action, but any action you want, so you're not restricted in this way, but only one. And then it has all the glyphs on the right side, this card, so when you play a next one, definitely it's going to match the glyphs you have in the card, if any, and then it will give you again 2 actions in the subsequent turn. extremely well done. Also, the decks are different because you start with a deck A, which is the starting deck for your starting hand, which you draft, and then you have deck B, deck C, deck D for the 3 seasons. You can gain more powerful cards also, which will give you more possibilities to have better cards to play and do more things. So overall, I should say great game, great design, great flow, thematic, satisfying. You feel that you have done the theme of the game. You feel that you lived in the ancient Egypt, and that you have farmed the land, and you were affected as a farmer, or I should say as I don't know, an overseer of farmers, in all possible ways from the weather, but you have planned well, and you had your crops delivering, and you had your economy boosting, and you had more victory points than the rest of the players. So excellently done, excellently executed, fantastic game design, clever idea, beautiful, really beautiful, and works well. I'm sure everyone who plays the game is going to fall in love with the game the same way I fall in love with the game. I have to pass my review copy to another reviewer, so I'm really sad to see it leaving, and I don't feel like that for most of the prototypes, that they're just going to be stuck on, you know, in somewhere in my library, and maybe revisited it later on, but not for sure. This one I would have definitely had more plays out of it if it stayed in my possession, but I'm really much looking to get this game funded. I'm definitely convinced that it's going to get funded and get it delivered as soon as possible, so that we can all enjoy it and you can have fun with Tamarine. So many thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, just give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, or come and find more material and more games in our channel. So many thanks for watching.